Yeah, great to have you. So I visited you at one of Bowery's facilities back in November. Fascinating to see the automated way you've got stuff growing, just like stacked up. Amazing. At the time you had, I think, around 200 stores that you were distributing to. You expect to be at 650 in September. What's driving that?
Yeah, that's right. I think there's two different components driving that. The first is outside of the global pandemic and the fact that in general, you're seeing a trend where consumers are looking for higher quality food. They're looking for transparency in the food system. They're looking to answer questions like, where's my food grown? How is it grown? And at Bowery, we provide protected produce. It's local all year round. It's pesticide free. It's grown more sustainably. And that's important to consumers, and so therefore it's important to retailers. And then you layer on top what's happening right now with COVID, and there's a real focus around surety of supply chain for retailers, simplicity of supply chain for retailers, and then just general safety of produce. And so I think all of that collectively is really driving the growth that we're seeing at Bowery.
Now, I don't think consumers get this. I mean, it's interesting that, it's almost like a manufacturing facility. You got a warehouse, but for growing produce, for growing food. But I'll bet you the retailers do. Has the conversation with grocery stores changed during this pandemic as they're wondering, are we going to be able to get supply? Where is it coming from? Are the people who are involved in touching this being tested?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because I think what's interesting is that the trend that is pushing us forward at Bowery really did exist beforehand, because if you look at what's happening with climate change and a lot of the disruptions to the supply chain, there were large food safety incidences over the course of the last couple of years. There have been major disruptions with field flooding and other issues that are causing retailers to recognize that they need to ensure that they have food on the shelf when consumers walk in. Then you add, exactly as you were saying, now retailers are saying, wow, like we not only need to make sure we have that surety of supply, but now transparency and safety of the product itself is becoming that much more important. There's actually been 50% more growth in the packaged salad category compared to non-packaged salad. And that's really driven because consumers are flying towards safety. They want to trust the food that they're buying wherever it's coming from. And that combination of surety and reliability of supply for the retailers, a much simpler supply chain because food doesn't have to travel thousands of miles and get on boats and planes and trucks. Those are advantages. And then the safety piece is really critical. So I think the conversations were already moving well with retailers. This just only acted as a further accelerant.
Irving, Julia Borston here. I would be curious to hear a little bit about the labor piece of this. My colleagues here at CNBC have done a lot of reporting about the challenge to farm workers of COVID and the risks there and just the challenge of the supply chain there. So how is your food harvested differently? Are fewer people involved? And how do you see dealing with that in COVID? I mean, John just mentioned the question of testing your labor force.
Yeah, so we, without a question, the health and safety of all of our people at Bowery and of the farms is the #1 priority for us, and it has been from the very beginning. We have two really distinct advantages. The first is we run food safe facilities and always have, so there's a standard of cleanliness and safety that's always present long before the pandemic even arrived. The other real advantages we have, and John was talking about this earlier, is there's a substantial amount of robotics and automation inside of our farms that we develop. And so what that means is our farmers actually work in a way that's much more spaced out than some of the images you see at these meat processing plants where people are required to really stand shoulder to shoulder and have very close contact with one another. And so those two components, combined with just an increase on focus in safety and social distancing and testing within our farms, have really led to a safe and secure workforce for all the employees at Bowery.